The video for today that you're about to watch is probably the longest one that's going to happen this week, and it's about 12 minutes long, but it's very basic. It has all the stances. It's one that if you go through it, you should have a pretty clear understanding about all the different stances that we have at the beginner and at the intermediate level. So that being said, like I said, about 12 minutes long, a little bit lengthy for what I'm looking for this week, but it's a good start. Get all the stances in. Let me know what you think. Let me know in the comments, and then we'll go from there. Hey guys, this is video 1 of MSMAF Online Academy. In this video, we're going to start with the very basics, things such as forward stance, back stances, different types of stances that you need to know as a foundation to your techniques while training here, either in person or online. The first ones we're going to go over are super basic. This is more of an etiquette thing. They're ready stance, attention stance, and basic relaxed stance, basic relaxed position. When you're in a ready stance, your feet are going to be shoulder width apart. Your knees are going to be slightly bent. Your back is going to be straight, your head over your shoulders, shoulders over your hips. Your hands are going to be out, slightly bent, and about one fist in between. Whenever you come to attention, you're going to bring your left foot to your right. So if I'm mirror imaging you, a lot of times for my classes, I'll use my right leg, bring to the side, hands together. This is our attention stance. Of course, when you bow in our system, you bow with your eyes up, always keeping your eyes on your opponent. And also here in the more Western cultures, it's a sign of respect making eye contact. When you come back to ready stance, hands come to the chamber, left leg steps back out into straddle leg stance, and then you push it into a ready stance. So those stances are, again, is you have a ready stance, you have your attention stance, you have your bow, and then back into ready stance. As part of our etiquette, there's different things we bow. Whenever you're partnered with someone, you usually bow right before training with them or right after. Another thing that we'll do is we'll bow towards the flag, so showing respect to our country, also showing respect to the studio. If we have a seminar or a test, we bow to the board members or the instructor that's teaching the seminar or running the test. The next two stances, kind of in our group of stances that we're going over, is a fighting stance and a defensive stance. And I'll go over both of those, different ways to do those, and the differences between them. So for this one, I'm going to go side view. In your fighting stance, we always start left leg forward. Right leg is going to be back. It should be about the same equivalent as you just stepping forward. From here, your knees are going to be bent. I'm going to turn both my feet to a slight 45-degree angle. My hands are going to be up. One hand is a little bit more forward than the other one. The other one's right here protecting my cheek if someone comes in and decides to throw a haymaker or a hook. So now that I've got that there, my knees are slightly bent, I want to make sure that I'm light, meaning my foot's not fully on the ground. And this just allows me to move forward and backwards quicker or move up and down quicker. It allows me to keep the energy of my fighting more alive. So this is our fighting stance. Fighting stances are used whenever we're doing kicks, whenever we're doing fighting combinations, or sparring in the arena. The second stance is a defensive stance. It's the exact same thing. The only difference is from here, my hands are going to be open. Same idea, I want to stay light, I want to be able to move. So I got my fighting stance and my defensive stance. The reason why my hands are open in a defensive stance is because I want to make it look like I don't really want to fight. All right? I'm just defending myself. So my fighting stance is a more aggressive stance. My defensive stance is more of a prepared and readiness stance. We use our defensive stance in our self-defense classes or Krav Maga classes and different things like that. Sometimes we'll even use it whenever we're doing one-steps, which are groups of movements that students memorize in order to perfect their muscle memory. So those two stances, again, is you have a fighting stance and you have a defensive stance. The next 4 stances are more of our goal belt and up. So after you've entered the mat, after you've had your first class, these are the stances that you're going to want to focus on. The first one is a straddle leg stance. Then there's a forward stance, a back stance, and a side stance. Straddle leg and side stance are kind of the bookends. They're very similar, so we'll go over those two first. A straddle leg stance comes from a ready stance. When I'm in my ready stance, my feet are shoulder width apart. When I'm in a straddle leg stance, usually we start off with having children come or students come and bring their hands to their chamber, and then we're going to step to the left. Now, because I'm the instructor, usually I step with my right leg to encourage kids to mirror image me. So I step to my left, My feet are now double shoulder width apart. From here, I'm going to bend my knees forward and out. My back is straight. This is our straddle leg stance. It's a stationary stance. And then from here, we do different things like punches, strikes, mostly just to condition the legs. And then I recover back. So our straddle leg stance, one more time. I bring my hands to the chamber. I step double shoulder width apart. I bend my knees forward and then out, and my back is straight. Some styles call this a horse stance. It can be called either an R style. And again, I can do my strikes from here. Now the second stance I said we'd go over is very similar to a straddle leg stance, and it's called a side stance. Now side stance, same form and everything, but the only difference is with the side stance, you're moving forward. So if you're my forward, for right now I'm just going to put my hands up in the guard. I'm going to step with my left leg and bend my knees. Now the reason why I want to bend my knees is because I'm stepping directly in front of my right leg. So when I step, I kind of crouch down just a little bit. I'm going to turn on the balls of my feet so that way my feet are in line, and then I squat down. If I were to step from here, I'm going to pivot, my knees stay bent, step directly in front of my other foot, and pivot again. So there are 3 steps into doing a side stance. Step 1, step 2, step 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then finally, once you get those 3 steps down, you can start flowing it together and making sure that you keep your head level the same. Similar to that. Our third stance is going to be our forward stance. Now, a forward stance is called a forward stance because you're moving forward and through your opponent or through your attacking combinations. So again, we're just going to keep our hands up right now. It's a good habit to always keep your hands up because then that just kind of instills muscle memory to protect your face. Sometimes we'll do a chamber, sometimes we'll do one of each. Right now, we're just going to do a guard. I have my shoulder width apart. I want to keep my shoulder width apart while I'm doing this stance and the back stance. So like I said, I'm going to do my right leg. It'll mirror image it, so that way I'm encouraging my students to start with their left leg. So my left leg steps forward. Now when I step, I'll show you guys side view. When I step, I want my knee to bend over my toes. I want my back straight. I want my back leg straight as well. So if I were to step forward with this, head level stays the same. Bend my knee forward into the next stance. And again, step forward, forward stance. Same thing, going the other side. Step into my forward stance, looking straight ahead. Step forward stance. Step forward stance. One more, step forward stance. All right, so there's a couple ways different people do the steps. The way I do it is more of a crouch into the step because it's really going to help me with my fighting stance later down the road. The other way people do it is with a C-step. Now C-step is something that most of the time we encourage with our younger students, and then as they get higher and higher up into their ranks, they don't do the C-step anymore. It's kind of a basic movement. But the idea with the C-step is to make sure that your head level stays the same. And one way we do it is you slide your feet together and then push your stance out. Slide your feet together and then push your stance out. One thing with the Chuck Norris system is our stances are a little more narrow, and the reason for that is we want to transition from a traditional into a fighting style very quickly and effectively. So we don't do a C-step as often because we don't want those really long stances. We want to keep everything very short and very effective. So when you're stepping in the Chuck Norris system, if you need to do the C-step at first, eventually transition into this. I have my forward stance, step directly in front. Step directly in front, all the while trying to keep your head level the same. Our fourth and final stance is the back stance. A back stance comes from a forward stance. So I'm going to step into my forward stance. When I transition into it, my hips are going to turn. I'm going to blade my body slightly, but not as much as the side stance. My front leg is going to stay the same. So my back is going to pivot, and then I lean back on my back leg. I have more weight on my back leg than my front leg. This is a defensive stance. Pivot forward into my forward stance, step into a forward stance, pivot into a back stance. Now, one more time. I want to show you guys this one's side view. So I step into my forward stance first, pivot into a back stance. Notice how in the forward stance I'm more forward, and in the back stance my body is a little bit further back from my opponent or my target. So forward stance, step, back stance. Forward stance, step, back stance. So those are the 4 stances. Quick review of them is straddle leg stance, side stance, forward stance, back stance. And hopefully this entire video will help you with your stances as you progress and learn. Stances are a great foundation to your martial arts. They're not only going to help you with your leg conditioning, but also your base and your balance.